Okay, students, now we've gone all the way around with a blanket stitch, and I don't think on the tutorials they showed you how to end it. So what you do is you take the thread when you come to that last stitch where you haven't finished it, and you go into the first stitch you did, and you pull it through and catch it just like you've been doing. And then you pull it around to the back and you slide it underneath one of these stitches and then kind of hide it, and then you go through the stitch again, and before you get the loop down you go through the loop, and can you see how it's going to tie a knot? And you usually do that 2 or 3 times. Usually 3 times will not let it come undone. I almost always do those knots 3 times right on top of each other really tight. And then, whoops, I let that one get really small, but I still caught it. Okay, and then you're going to cut that off. Now, when you cut off a hand-tied knot, you don't want to cut it right next to the knot or it'll come undone, so you got to leave a little bit of a thread hanging out so that it won't come undone. And now the leaves are done. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to come back to this white thread that you did originally, and you're going to cut it, cut the needle off of it. If yours is still on because you have multiple needles, I had other needles, but I didn't have one close by for the tutorial that was big enough for me to thread that embroidery floss, so I cut my needle off. But you could use 2 different needles if you want to. And then you're going to thread those threads through your eye, and then you're going to come up right in the center, as close as you can to the center of those little leaves, and you're going to pull your needle down, and that is going to sew on your leaves onto your tomato. So then I'm just going to take a couple of stitches through the leaves and then right down through the tomato. And I don't have enough thread, so I'm going to get new thread. And I'm going to just take a couple stitches to sew that down to the tomato, and then I'm going to tie that off. And I kind of want it to look kind of like this so that it's not so flat. So I'm kind of pulling it up so that it'll be so that it will be a little bit gathered up. And I just unthreaded my needle, so I'm going to thread it again. If you don't want your needle to come unthreaded, you want to, I'm licking that so that it sticks together. Oh great, I'm having a hard time threading it. If you don't want it to come unthreaded, you hold the eye of the needle. I think I told you that. Oh no, I told that in the buttonhole when I was doing the button demo for the other kids. If you guys want to watch that, you can, because it shows you the button. It shows you how to sew the button on. Okay, so once I've got that rethreaded again, then I'm going to make a knot by going through those stitches. And before the loop comes up, I stick my needle through it and tie that down. And like I told you, I usually do it like 3 times. Now we're down to the last step. So turn